Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We continue our working day, and now the floor is given to the Minister of Defense spokesman on ADO-related issues, Colonel Oleksandr Motuzyanyk. Good afternoon, everyone. Now the information about the main events that happened in the ADO area during the last 24 hours. Lugansk area. Krymska settlement was the place of the biggest number of enemy shellings, and the enemy delivered fire from 4 neighboring settlements. Positions in Krymska were fired at by mortars. Then the enemy opened fire with the use of artillery of 152 mm of caliber from the side of Smilova and Sentianova, former Frunze. The shelling lasted about 2 hours and ended at midnight. The enemy launched about 40 artillery shells at Ukrainian positions. The militants at the morning started to use mortars in Novatoshkivsk and in the evening in Rykhovo. In Popasnensky region, the enemy started mortar shelling in the morning in Oleksandrovka, and during the day, the enemy sporadically violated ceasefire using small arms. Starting 5 p.m., the enemy for 1.5 hours delivered fire at Troitsk. This was mortar fire, and the enemy launched 30 mines. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in Lugansk area, there were 23 enemy shelling, including 17 with the use of heavy weapons. The Donetsk area in the region of Svetlodarsk Bulge, in the afternoon there were short-term provocations with the use of small arms. And in the evening the enemy was more active and shelled Kadim and Lugansk with the use of mortars. In Gorlovka perimeter, the enemy shelled ADO positions along the front line, and right after midnight there was shot mortar shelling of Zaitsevo. And during the first part of the day the enemy sporadically used small arms, and in the evening was active with the mortar squads. And starting 5 p.m. militants shelled Verkhnya Tereska, Mayorska, Zaitsevo and Novohorodska. And during evening the enemy launched more than 100 mortar mines in the region of Gorlovka, and in the region of Avdiivka there was heavy mortar shelling from the side of Yakovlevka. The enemy used mortars of 182 and 120 millimeters, and less powerful shelling happened at about 10 p.m. And starting yesterday, in the course of shelling, Avdiivka is left without electricity, and the repair works of damaged electricity supply line and damaged Donetsk filtration station are not started because of the threat of shellings. And the chemical plant delivers electricity, and they created some reservoir of water for 4,000 square meters. And those facilities that do not have their own facilities use generators, and also the town is patrolled by police during 24 hours. And in the flanks of Kamenka, in the region of Donetsk Airport and Nevelsk, the enemy carried out provocations with the use of small arms. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Donetsk area, there were 35 enemy shellings, including 19 with the use of heavy weapons. The Mariupol area in Mariinsk region, during the last 24 hours, the enemy violated ceasefire once, shelling after sunset our positions near Krasnogorovka. At that, they used grenade launchers of different systems and small arms. And in Novotroysk, that is near the Kuchevsk, the enemy yesterday delivered 3 shellings, one of which was with the use of mortars. In Novogrigorievka, that is far south, after sunset, the militants delivered 2-hour shelling using large caliber machine guns. At the front line from Chermalik to Shurokina, the situation is tense. In this area, the enemy used small arms and armored vehicles, including tanks and mortars. And in Vodyane, enemy snipers were active, and late in the evening, in this flash spot of the Mariupol area, the militants delivered 2 artillery shellings, and the Ukrainian forces hold their positions to the east of Mariupol, and they return fire with the use of weapons that is similar to those that is used by the enemy. And on the whole, during the last 24 hours, there were 64 enemy shellings, 1/3 of which is with the use of heavy weapons. During the last 24 hours, in the result of the military actions, 1 Ukrainian serviceman was killed, 5 were wounded. Our hearts go out to the relatives of those servicemen who died. SBU detained in Mariupol the militant of a plot militant group that is the part of so-called DPR. Law enforcers identified that the detained in May 2014 joined militants, and he was trained, and after this he got uniform, weapon, and he followed illegal orders of the occupants. And after the conflict with his commanders, he left the militants, and as IDP came to Mariupol, and he was hiding with his family members. And then the information about SBU program. 1 more militant participated in the program. They wait for you back home. During 2014, he joined the militants in Slavyansk, and he served at checkpoints, and he didn't take part in military actions. And after the town was freed, he was afraid of persecutions, and he went to Russia to his relatives. And he got information about SBU program and decided to return. And he didn't commit any heavy crimes, and the Ukrainian court have grounds to release him from criminal responsibility. Now the information about training. These days, pilots of fighter jets shared their experience with students of Kharkiv National University of Air Forces. Students studied characteristics of fighter jet Su-27, and they were told about flight preparation, engine runs, and crew actions under different circumstances. And in Mykolaiv, there are training for territorial defense units. And 300 residents participated in the training, those who joined these territorial defense units. And in the course of training, the participants studied the rules, how to use small arms. Also, they studied tactics on the battlefield, anti-mine action, and also how to provide first medical aid. And in the Yaversky firing ground, that is in Lvivchina, graduates of National Academy of Land Forces actively prepared for state examination. Among the exercises, firing machine gun and the weaponry of APCs. And they will have field training for several weeks, and then the students will pass examinations. And lastly, the Serviceman 128th Detached Mountain and Infantry Brigade restored their battle readiness and the conditions that are close to the that are on the battlefield, and they improved their battle skills and also their driving of armored vehicle skills. Do you have questions? Thank you. Do you have any questions? No, there are no questions. Thank you and goodbye.